Well, hello guys.
Hello.
We did a session yesterday.
Long time no see.
Yes, literally yesterday.
At their studio, and it was amazing. The story is interesting between, especially Podster and Gotham, and I feel like I want to share it. So when we, as many of you know, we were in Dubai and we came up with this concept like, why don't we start a studio, right? And offer it as a turnkey solution. And I always say, like, one of the few cities that you want to, check out and search for the inspiration would be probably New York. Then you go to, I don't know, LA, San Francisco, maybe you go to London and try to find studios that can serve you as some sort of a guiding point on what you're building. And the Gotham was one of the studios that we were looking at the time. And we're like, oh, imagine these guys like running a studio in New York. That must be a sexy business to be in. And then a few years later, we're here at the stage with you guys and becoming friends and still admiring what you guys are doing. So thank you for joining us on this session. And it's really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And we admire what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we were talking about it after you guys left. Or like, their studios are amazing, policies.
Yeah,
I don't know
there's so
everything
much.
about it.
And for a long time, I mean, Dubai is as competitive place as it can be. I'm not sure how you guys feel in your cities, but like Dubai is such a competitive place. At this point, there are probably around 50 studios next to Podster. So we're definitely feeling the impact of that. And for a long time in the beginning, naively, with Podster, we thought, hey, the world is ours, right? Everyone is our competition. Like, we'll end up in every city. And then very soon we realized that building just one studio is so much work. Replicating it to a number of cities would be a completely different task. And to be honest, I don't think that this is what we want to do. And then we started opening up, and we realized that the more you give to the industry and the more you talk to other people who are in the same business, the more you grow. We started doing that, and I think that Podster is growing because of that as well at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. So we would like to talk to you on a few topics today. You guys are in one of the creative capitals in the world, right? And you've been around since 2017. You might be one of the oldest studios in the room, but probably in the industry as well. How did the scene of creators, podcasters, and people using the studio evolve since 2017 till today? And how do you feel about the New York scene today in that sense and from your point of view?
As far as the clients that were coming to us in the beginning, they were hobbyists who were using their discretionary income, and they would come after their 9-to-5 jobs. And so we were open 7 days a week. And then once we made it our full-time jobs, we were open 12 hours a day. So that way we could catch people who, especially in New York, there's a lot of creatives, there's a lot of solo business owners who have availability on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. to record a podcast, so we were able to catch them. And then we got, our core clients, which was really hobbyists who were hoping to break into the podcast space. We didn't even have cameras in 2017. I think we had a webcam just so we could survey the room and make sure all of our stuff was safe. But we were not worried about cameras. Podcasting was really strictly audio at the time.
And that was the beginning. Now we're living in the age where obviously people are getting into this whole industry not only as hobbies, they're getting in with agendas. What are the agendas that you're dealing with today, and what are their goals? Are they still hobbyists, and what are they expecting from you as a studio and as an operation?
I mean, we've noticed, sorry, I'm gonna definitely let you talk.
Then we're going to ask you, how does it feel running a studio as a couple?
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. For clients now, we've definitely pivoted specifically after COVID. And we got rid of our evening hours. Now we're only open until 6 p.m. We're only Monday through Friday. We don't do weekends anymore. And our clients have really pivoted to influencers, content creators, and businesses. It's interesting to me that Fortune 500s and influencer is looking to secure our studio space. They're both in much different categories and markets and industries, but they're both looking for a convenient place to go that has good audio, great video, and also makes them feel good about the process. And I think we touched base on this a little bit yesterday, which is just that you can have great customer service all day, but if they walk out with a bad product, what's the point? They're not going to think about how nice it was that you had coffee there. So we want it all. We want the whole package to be given to the clients no matter where they're coming from.
And Matt, I mean, you're coming from the technical side. You should see their studio, how organized it is. You see someone obsessed in it, and that's Matt. Where are they valuing the most now? I mean, New York is a hustle city, right? People are always hustling and figuring out a way to pull things off. Did the value that they're putting on the quality of the studio, the gear, and the professional setup changed over the years? What are you looking for now?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about building studios, I think over the course of our career, we physically have built probably 15 studios because we moved a couple times in our lifetime, and I'm tired of putting drywall up, so I'm not doing that anymore. But I think that it definitely started, when it first started, it was just we need a room that doesn't sound horrible, that has good microphones. Yeah. And that was kind of the barrier to entry. It was like, just capture the audio and have it not sound bad. And video wasn't even an element that people were even talking about. Some people would come in and ask, oh, you have a camera? Cool, I'll add it. Actually, camera, when we first started with camera, was just added as a free. We didn't charge for it. Yeah. It was just, we have a camera. We recorded it anyways because that was our backup to our audio. So if we lost audio, we could pull it from the cameras. So we just gave it to clients for free. And now people are video first. And it's very surprising when someone comes in and we see the booking and it's like, oh, just audio? What? Why are you not doing video? There's no video on this booking. It's just kind of weird. So I think clients are definitely looking more for video-focused stuff, and a lot of social stuff. We have people that come in and do fake podcasts all the time, and they're like talking to nobody. Yeah. And a lot of influencers are just like, I'm just set up a teleprompter, put me in front of a camera, and leave me alone for an hour, and then just bang out like tons of TikToks and Instagram Reels and stuff. So video first is where the market is, I think, right now. What we noticed in Podster in Dubai, which is a completely different market, is that you have a few groups of customers. There are ones that understand that the content is king and they're really not that picky about the details of the footage, right? And then there are the ones who are obsessed with the shade, with the lights and how it looks, right? Yeah. And then what they say doesn't really matter. Is it different and what's in Podster, the ratio is probably maybe even 50-50, or maybe it's even more in favor of how good they look on the screen. Is the New York the same? I think we work with so many different types of clients and different people. It is frustrating sometimes when someone comes in and they go into the studio and they're like, can we move this plant? Can we move this bookcase? And it's like, I put that bookcase there for a reason. I put that plant there for a reason. Like, all these things are here for a reason, and you want to change everything when you come in. And there's some people that come in and they don't care about anything. They just want to get going. So I'd say probably like 60% of people are really hyper-focused on making sure that everything is the same. Like, oh, I can see this wire in the shot. Can we make sure we tape this against the wall or something like that? Yeah. And then like the rest are just, they want to get the content. And a tactical question and a practical one, day-to-day operating the studio. When someone comes in and they are very picky about a set, they want to customize it, they want to bring in their own stuff, they want to change things around, how do you handle it? Do you charge extra hours? Do you charge a setup fee? Do you try to pull it out without charging them anything just for the sake of building the relationship with them? How do you handle it? It varies from client to client, obviously, but we did one client recently, and they liked the studio, but they wanted it to look like their studio because they record in, I think, California typically, and they were in New York for a couple weeks, and they wanted it to look like what they looked like in California. I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I literally was like, okay, I'll do it, but it's going to cost you a decent amount of money. And they bought the studio out for a couple days, and we built inside our studio. We replicated their studio in our studio, charged them a decent amount of money, a good premium on that. They were very appreciative, and since then they've come back a couple times and they refer us clients. So it was great to build that relationship, but it was also nice that they didn't try to haggle on the price. They understood what they wanted was an excessive request, and they paid for it. Some people will come in and say, can I hang up my sign in the background? Can I store my books here? Can I store my outfits? Can I have all these things here? And we'll accommodate that if we can. Storage space in New York is not easy to come by. So if you want me to store your furniture, I'm going to have to charge you for it. And luckily we do have some space to store some furniture. We have probably maybe once a week where somebody's like, they want to do a light staging. And our process for that is what you have to pay for like an additional hour to do time.
Yeah.
Before and after. So you can set up and you can take down. Because it needs to look how it looked after you leave. So we usually charge people an additional hour just to rent the studio so they can have the setup and the tear down.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We ended up in a massive trouble. I'm not sure what you guys are experiencing, but like at Podster, when we started, we really didn't, we're not coming from the industry, right? I didn't know what ISO on the camera is. I didn't know what like literally I didn't know anything. So the whole approach was just business logic. Even for the price, we made the biggest mistake of underpricing the service, and then the whole industry, whole city followed that, right? We set the stage, everyone followed, and then the price war started, and everyone started going down. But in the beginning, we were accommodating to everything. We just didn't want to lose the client. Like, whatever, okay, you want to customize it, okay, we'll pull it off.
So were we.
And that's it, yeah. And then we reached the stage where, and my Sai can witness that. Sai is, by the way, one of the engineers, operators from Dubai. He flew in as well. He came to me a lot of times. He said, it's impossible. We have a 30 minutes gap in between the sessions. So it's impossible to switch from one set to another in 30 minutes with all of those customizations. So now we do the same. So it's minimum 2 hours if they have something custom to do in the studio, and we're very strict about it.
I want to pick on the question that you actually touched on that, and that's corporate work. When we started Dubai, we've seen a lot of content creators come in, and because Dubai is such a place where everyone parks there and records content for their market, so it's easy to do that. In Singapore, it's a very corporate market. Like 80-90% of the clients are corporate. There's not many content creators. I mean, some folks in the room who know Asia, they know that these content creators are in Bali or Bangkok or somewhere else. So corporate work. You mentioned you need bespoke sets, you need all this high-touch work, you need 10 producer chaperones coming to the room to bring coffee to the talent, bring notes and all this. Where do you see this industry headed now when it comes to consolidation or maybe re-energizing the market with this influx of like corporate requests and people coming in, which are probably not recording in their offices anymore for 10 times more cost, but are coming to you? And how do you see that market versus how you started, which is 2 microphones and 2 content creators, right? So how do you see that market?
The thing that scares me a little bit about the market when we're talking about corporate clients is people that, and we've had maybe not a handful of people that have done this, but like they'll come to us and they'll ask us to do all the setup and all the recording and all the post-processing and stuff. And then they like get confident and they're like, well, we have an extra room in our office. We could do this.
We could just do this ourselves.
And then most often than not, they come back 6 months later and say it was a lot more work than we thought. It cost more to do all these things. So I'm not too scared about corporations really taking a bite out of the studio space, because it's a lot. I worked at a company before working at Gotham, obviously, and they wanted to start a podcast, and I listened to podcasts. And I said I can help out with that. They're like, no, we're good. And they like outsourced it to another company and paid tens of thousands of dollars. And like, at the end of the day, it was like 2 people in a room with a microphone. And like, you overspent by a lot. So I think corporations are good at spending money in a very irresponsible way. And when things get tight, I think that they'll come back to or lean on companies like Gotham or other studios to shepherd them through that process. So I think that corporations getting into the podcast space is a great thing. I think everybody has a marketing budget, so why not spend it on a podcast, because it's a low barrier to entry and you get great content out of it. So I think that corporations, they're our bread and butter right now, and the more we can get, the better.
And budgets are getting tighter, so they're going to look for how to squeeze the dollar.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys experience something that, well, hopefully not a lot of studios will have to experience, but most likely studios will have to experience somewhere along the journey. You've been operating since 2018, and then you looked 2020 at the eyes and had to make some hard decisions and had to do some pivots. Now, I'm sure that we're not going to look or face anything similar in that sense, what happened to all of us, but most of the studios will have to pivot at some point to a certain level, or adjust, or make hard decisions. Everything is nice and shiny when you start scaling, but that scaling at one point starts most likely slowing down. And then at that point, you need to figure out how to optimize your business for further growth. Now, back in 2020, you had a number of studios, 15 staff in New York, and we know how much that costs. You were probably making a lot of money. Things were great, but then COVID happened, and then you had to restructure. You made a few moves that are scary. You downsized, you increased your prices, you started working more on premium type of clients. Can you just share with us your experience? How did you make that decision to do so? And eventually, what was the outcome of that, and how do you feel about that now? Because I think a lot of us can learn. I'm scared now to increase the price for 5%, literally. I'm like, if we increase 5%, like people will walk away.
Yeah.
So how did you make that decision, and how did that turn out for you?
We made that decision because we had no other choice. It was to shut down or pivot. What we had before didn't work, and it wasn't working. And with the question mark behind COVID, and especially in those early days when nobody knew the next step or what was going to happen or how long, and 2020 to 2021 was a long year. And so we had no choice. We literally just, we couldn't do what we had been doing before, which was quantity. We had 6 studio rooms, 2 floors. We were operating 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and almost every single room was booked every day. So just mass amounts of clients, and then all of a sudden they're all gone. And luckily, prior to this, and this is something I would definitely urge, is get a good team behind you, because it's not just Matt and I. We started it, we lead it, but the real people who are Gotham are our team members. And one of our team members had come to us prior to COVID when all signs pointed to, we need more studios. We should open in more cities. We should license. We should franchise. We should just keep going, studios. And he was like, I think we need to focus on production. I think we need to start editing. I think we need to start publishing, help with cover arts and titles and descriptions and guest booking. I think we need to help more with the production process, because there's a lot of production houses and agencies that don't have a studio. And there's a lot of studios that don't have production capabilities, especially at the time. And we were like, 100%, that's so smart, we should do that. And so prior to COVID, really prior to COVID, we had sold 4 production packages maybe. And those were the things that we were working on while we were in our studio apartment in New York City for 3 months straight, unable to move. And those were the clients we were editing for. We're like, no, don't stop. Everybody's pivoting. You record over Zoom. We'll be on the Zoom with you. That partnership, letting them know they weren't alone. But it was so important that we had started that process right before, because everything literally before that would have told us we just would have kept opening more studios. So we dove into that. And then we also tried to start a hosting company, and it failed. So we just were like, COVID, and then hosting company failed, and we were like, all right, this is truly it. We have to go all in on production.
And when we get to a point where let's say we had 2 studios, and we get to a point where those studios are booked, and we're like, well, it makes sense to build another studio. Yeah. Well, when you build another studio, that gets booked, but you need to hire another staff to manage that studio. So the profit, it just is such a weird balancing act. So we had to find a way to make more money without costing more money. And the production was that, because we could bring that in-house, and one person could manage it rather than have 4 staff members to run a studio.
And many studios will probably, I hope, reach the stage where they're fully booked, right? And yesterday we had a funny conversation, and I can't remember, someone references summer, there is no drop in demand, right? We don't feel it. I understand people talking about seasonality, we're always fully booked. Yes, great. That's how we felt in 2023, right? We had 3 studios, they were fully booked. And they were like, the world is ours. And we totally underestimated the market. Why didn't we build 10 studios? And then 2024 came, the summer came, we had 7 studios. Oh, there is a season. Because now you need 700 bookings, not 300 anymore. Yeah. So
Yeah, New York shuts down in summer.
You really shut down, yeah?
Most cities, I think, do.
So you really need to balance how exposed do you want to be with your real estate, which then follows with staff. And ideally, we're trying to figure out a way in Podster now, how do you ride the wave? So when it's peak season, how do you extend your capacities? When it's low season, how do you optimize your resources so that you're not losing the money that you earned throughout the high season? So it's it's a topic in itself, how to optimize those resources. I love how you pivoted, and I think probably one of the conclusions of the whole gathering will be that the future is, partially in the original content and owning content and the IP. So I want to talk a little bit about that. You guys are operating your own network. You have a few successful shows. One of them, We Might Be Drunk, that generated 100 million downloads. I always say, like, if you gather all Dubai podcasts, you cannot get 100 million downloads together. Like having one show doing that is like amazing. So tell us about how you structure the network. How are you making deals with the creators? How do you make money? Are you making money, or you're planning to make money? And where are you at the moment? Because everyone can learn, and I think the future is in creating networks as a part of the business. You can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing, obviously.
Yeah, internally we started talking through 2024 that the podcast studio was great, where production clients are, again, happy like that, but where do we go next? And the podcast studio has a cap for how many hours a day we're open, for how many studios we have. And it just felt limiting. And we really wanted something that could break open and potentially scale to millions. And we said the network ad sales is where it's at. We have met over the course of 8 years, thousands upon thousands of podcasters, and we know a lot of people are happy with our studios. And so it was a lead and a funnel coming right into our studios, and then we could have those conversations with people. And we debated a long time about if we demanded part of our deal to be a part of our network was to have ownership of the show. There's pros and cons to both. And we just decided that if we're gonna put the years of work and strategy that we've learned along the way and give that firsthand to a client, to a show that's on our network, we want to have a piece of the pie. And so it's a deal breaker for us. If they don't want to give ownership, that they could use our studios, we could have a different type of working relationship, but they can't be a part of our network. It's a buy-in from us, it's a buy-in from them, and we treat it very seriously. And so we just launched in 2025. We have about 15 shows on the network right now, and all of our shows besides 2 are really in the growth stage. They don't have the capabilities or the downloads yet to be able to sell ads.
What does it mean for New York market or for the US market growth stage? What are the number of downloads we're talking about?
Anywhere between a couple hundred to a couple thousand.
Per episode?
Per episode, audio and video, and we pretty much don't do anything that isn't video. That's another requirement for our network. Another requirement is that it has to be weekly. It has to be a weekly show. There's just certain things that we know are true in the podcast space, and those are the kinds of clients that we want, somebody who's ready to commit to doing their podcast, and they want to do a podcast. We had mentioned this with you guys the other day about how we had a lot of well-known people walk into this space and be like, yeah, I guess I should have a show. I just, I got followers. And it's like, that doesn't equate success in a podcast. Just because you have a name doesn't immediately mean that it's going to be a successful show, and especially if you do one season and back out. And so we only wanted to work with podcasters who were serious about podcasting. They actually want to make it a core piece of their brand, their revenue. And so we kind of went in with that mindset that it needed to be these certain things for us, but we are ready and willing to give them X, Y, and Z. But in terms of podcast ad sales, I've worked with Gumball and just so many companies, and unless you have at least 10,000 downloads, they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, of course.
So all of our shows who are in the couple hundred to the couple thousand range are just not there yet.
Yeah, it's difficult to sell them. You can sell them as a part of the network and then sign a deal with a brand who's going to place their ads across across 10 shows, right? So you're structuring the deal, you take, call it equity, right? The percentage ownership of the IP. Do they pay for the service or they get it for free?
they do not pay. Nobody has to be a part of the network. And
I mean, do they pay for the using of the studio, editing, consulting, script writing, all that stuff?
so we don't do the post-production for network clients. They need to maintain that themselves. But the studio, we offer it at a discounted rate for them. It's pretty much a break-even rate for us.
Okay. And then you offer them strategic guidance.
Yes, once a month I do at least an hour with each client, and then we do, in-person meetups, and we also help them with guest booking as much as we can. Matt can speak more to that. It's been interesting to try and get guest booking and have it solidify, especially with higher and higher clientele. It tends to get even harder. I
think that one of the goals for us as far as guest booking is to optimize people's time. So when I have a celebrity come into the studio and I'm talking to their publicist and I say, oh, we have 4 other podcasts that also record in the same studio, they can just make a lap around the floor and do 4 podcasts, 5 podcasts. It's a good use of their time. So it's a good selling point to get somebody to the network. Like different shows can benefit off of other shows if they're all in the same space. So that's kind of our plan when it comes to like guest booking and just optimizing time.
Did you see something that's I want to unpack that value, because you've outlined clearly the criteria of what makes someone a good prospect for you to work with, and then you said if you're qualifying for this criteria, we give you X, Y, and Z. I think that's the part which where the real conversation is, in terms of, have you seen anything work better in terms of your value to the creators, as well as the potential targets of these creators, which are guests on the show and so on. You mentioned you can run around the floor and do 4 podcasts. I think if you position it where one guest can do multiple, and that can give him like an extra boost on the algorithm, or can give him any extras. I think that's where the value of Gotham community comes in, and the fact that you're connected with all these people and you have access to them that a single content creator wouldn't. So that's something that I think is good to unpack for everyone, because I'm sure even we're thinking about this, like what's our value add, like other than giving a discount, right?
I think the biggest value that our clients have found is the sense of community and being part of something that's larger than themselves, and being in a shared space with other people that are also focused on their same goal. Like the different shows, you got a show about motherhood, you got a show about sports, but the end goal is the same. They want to reach their audience with good content. And I think being part of that and just feeling like you belong in a community, and then the ability to share information and share guests, share stories, go on each other's podcasts. There's a lot of just community, and I think that's where our network was built off of. And some of the stuff in our contract that we ask for, we always also give to them. So, we're bought into the show as much as they are, and so that's why, we're going to ask for X amount of percentage. Oh, you're taking my show. It's not about that. It's like, we're not taking your show. We're making a show together. So I don't want you to feel like you're against me and I'm against you. We're doing this together, and I want your success, because your success means my success, and my success means your success. So we want to work with people that see that and understand that. And the hard part about that is that we do have to walk away from a lot of people. We do have to say no to a decent amount of people that, they have 2 million followers on Instagram, and they don't want to give away even 1% of the equity in their show. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but you want us to work for you for free? No, I mean, we need to have some sort of compensation on the back end. And if you're not willing to pay us, then you have to pay us in what you have that's worthwhile to us, and that is equity and growth in the show.
Is it the quantity or the quality game, shows-wise?
We started with quantity. I think you have to start with quantity just because you have to get your name out there. Like, nobody knows what the Gotham Network is at this point. Hopefully we're getting larger and things like that, but you have to start with quantity, I think, and that's where we started. It still was quality at the end of the day. We still want everything that looks good on our social media has to be good looking. We've even said we can't collaborate with some creators because they record and it doesn't look good. So we have to we're gonna make the clips and then you can share it, collaborate with us. So we started with quantity for sure and brought in as many people as we could that also fit a vision we were looking for and were committed to the show. And now we've pivoted towards quality. And we're hunting. So instead of just gathering whoever fills out the form on our website, now we're looking for creators that are in the space or people that feel like they should have a show or are already making a show and find a way to level up their content. So we're hunting now for sure, and for quality.
like network, definitely we are at the stage where we're putting it together. What's the value proposition? I think that good negotiation with the creator is an important one. Anyone who has any decent traction, especially in social media, will be negotiating with you and be like, hey, like almost like what are you bringing to the table? Like how are you going to help me? So it's a lot. If you don't have a network of successful shows, you have one or two, a few of them that have, that's a big leverage, right? But definitely a network play, I think, is one of the key elements of the future of the studios. Talking about the future and to wrap up, you've been through a lot of phases, and I really admire your passion and consistency and hard work, and you didn't let it go, and you just pushed through the hard times, and you surfaced up stronger. We are looking at probably, now every year seems to be the most transformative year of our lives when it comes to business and technology, and the way how we operate. How do you feel about the industry overall over the next 3 years, and how would you structure the studio business to unlock the longevity and to remain at the top over the coming few years? And 3 is max that we could even try predicting, right?
Yeah, a lot can change in 3 years. I mean, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but we're very excited about the deal with Spotify and Netflix. And we also see the value in, again, we don't call it podcasts, we call them shows, and them stepping into this new endeavor with streaming. And it makes a lot of sense from both parties' perspectives. And we're really excited about that. To have IP ownership of a ton of shows is really, again, I think setting us up in a good way that the ones that are doing well can get noticed in the right spaces and potentially scale to new levels that we wouldn't have been able to imagine. YouTube is a long game, you know, podcast is a long game. It's just, it takes a long time. So this is a new endeavor that's really exciting for us. And I think specifically for Gotham, we're very interested in again, I don't think podcast studios are done by any means. I don't think the scaling is done. And so we are interested in potentially bottling up the magic we've made and stepping into licensing, franchising, having those discussions again. And I think we said this yesterday, that like the studio funnels to us the revenue to be able to invest in new endeavors. And so one of those things, and I don't know if he wants to talk about it, but he should, is we invested and we made a pilot of a TV show, and it's in editing now, and we're gonna chop it up and try and get it picked up. And having Gotham Production Studios really be more than podcasts, more than shows, have it be a media brand, is something we're very, very into. I just can't stress enough how important it is on our end to partner with the right shows and make sure that it works for us and it works for them, but that we also have that buy-in, and we're protecting our brand during the negotiations.
And I think that's the right way to go. Which just sparked me with another question. Do you think that overall, the whole room, calling ourselves podcast studios, for a long time, we see it as a go-to-market strategy. People don't look for, like if you search for a content studio, probably you won't find any content studio, right? Podcast studio, everyone knows what a podcast studio is today. Is it a time that we also start working on that? Are we underselling what we do?
Yeah, when we first started, we definitely were worried more about SEO and being visible.
Exactly.
And so it's podcast in the name made sense. And then after COVID, when we pivoted more towards production and higher level clients, it just felt more professional to be called a production studio.
Well, and also remember when we went to register our business, we had a discussion, should we register as Gotham Podcast Studio? And in 2017, we said, no, we should register as like production studios. Like without even knowing all that was to come, I think we still wanted to protect ourselves and be, you know, an LLC that was broad enough to be able to go into those different spaces. And so we operated under the DBA of Gotham Podcast Studio until we got to a place where it's like, all right, now we're production, now we're doing more. And I'm just very thankful that 2017 us had that vision. Because now we're set up in a way that we can have a lot of different arms and verticals inside the business.
I'm scared to think about changing that with all the SEO that is in place. Like,
Oh, we still own GothamPodcastStudio.com.
Yes.
yeah.
Redirect.
Yeah, we'll never give that up.
A longer version of this is obviously going to be available through the podcast studio operator show that we recorded and that we plan to record with as many studios as we can, which we were going to make it available in the community. And then, of course, this is going to be available as well. What I like about our conversation yesterday, and we'll post that soon enough, is you guys are just like a don't die mentality, right? Which I love, and we've seen so many studios go under in this industry, even in the last year and a half since we've been scrubbing the global non-existing directory of podcast studio owners. We've found many that are gone. So I think it's great that you've shared your story with everyone. And what's that last one advice that you'd provide, not just people here, because there are a number of people here who are yet to open a studio, but there are many others. Like, is there something that you would give as advice if someone's thinking of starting?
There's one piece of advice that I don't know if anybody can really follow. It's maybe specific towards us, is being married to the person you start your business with. A lot of people, they tell you don't work with your wife or won't work with your husband.
Don't hire a client.
It's
Don't hire a client.
Don't hire a client either.
Don't hire a
But
client.
It is a kind of an unfair advantage that we had at the start of the company. We had a third partner, and we would work together and we'd do it at the office, and then we'd go home and we would continue working. And he would be like, "Well, you guys talked about something and I wasn't there." I was like, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to stop." So it was
Three's a crowd.
it was an unfair advantage for us to have, because we worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we'd have an idea and be like, "Oh, let's do that." So we had an unfair advantage, and I love working with my wife, and I think that it just made work more fun, and it made it just grow quicker because we were always working. And don't hire clients. We hired clients,
Don't hire clients.
as engineers, and they didn't work out. And then you lose a client and an employee.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I want to open now, obviously, to question. Matthew, I think you raised the hand, Tom.
Yeah. Nice to meet you both. Congratulations. I've sent some people your way in the past.
Thank you.
Question. We had AWS outage. Was that late last week? Or
It's still going on.
Cool. So one thing that came up, we were trying to live stream a client that morning, and Restream was relying on AWS and would not work. What do you guys do in those situations, especially dealing with such A-list and high-value clients when it's not your fault, just it's not working?
Oh, I mean, the last Wi-Fi outage we had was intense.
That was my fault, though.
You could always blame AWS.
Oh, no,
I cut the wire.
He literally cut the wire.
So I couldn't blame Amazon. That's a difficult situation, and unfortunately, I hope it's not a situation that comes up very often. I think in our instance, and if that came up for us, we try to find a different service that maybe worked, Riverside or StreamYard or any other services that may work in that instance. The other thing is just we'll record it. That's the best we can do. I think at the end of the day, there's not really much you can do if there's a nationwide or international outage. Apologize for something that's obviously not your fault, but
Post on Twitter blaming AWS.
Yeah.
Or do you comp them something?
I was just going to say that, yeah.
I think we would probably comp, if there was a streaming fee attached to the booking, we would probably comp that, but it's not our fault. So I think we would probably give them credit towards the next session, try to retain that client and bring them back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm big on the customer service portion, and so again, ourselves and our team, we do not fault ourselves for things that are outside of our control, but we very much fault ourselves at things that we did wrong, and we're honest and we're upfront and we're straightforward and we apologize and we go through the same process, but we also make sure that we give them something to come back. Let us try it again. I'm so sorry. Those are very rare these days, but in the beginning days, we messed up a bunch. There was a lot of things that the employee didn't do and you didn't train them well enough. And this tech went out, this camera, this wire, so something that's like that is technically outside of our control that we can't manage. I still want them to come back. I still want them to have a good experience with us. And so, yes, giving them something that's calm to say, I'm so sorry this happened. Let's still make sure you get some content. That's another thing. When clients want to cancel, 13 minutes before their time is set to start. And they're like, oh, just no, come in, get something. The space is yours, it's rented, the cameras are here. There is content to be made. So something similar, like really urging them to be able to still utilize the space and the services, but also giving them an incentive to come back to us and let's have a better experience next time.
Yeah, I think the question that you raised, which is very specific, right? Like nothing you can do with AWS, like outage.
Broadcasting world, things.
Yeah, I
things
think
break all the time.
Yeah.
I think this requires an approach that goes way beyond what a typical or standard spot or studio would offer, which comes with a set of fallback mechanisms that are preventing from that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I doubt that like if you want to stream to thousands of important people with an A-lister, you want to rely on one service. But in this case, this was really this was extreme.
Yeah.
Like, the whole world was down, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Other.
My name's Roy Kershaw from Team Before.
Don't you need to
Getting
go
ready to
louder.
open a studio. Talk to me about, give me the 3 things that you absolutely hate about this industry. 3 things. And then give me the 3 best things that you love about this industry that drives you to continue to stay open. But I guess the things that you despise.
Oh, I got one.
I got one too.
I got one too. All
They
right.
seem to have more than 3.
The same one.
Yeah, it could be. All right, number 1 thing that I hate, please don't do this as studio owners or potential studio owners, is try to poach other studios' clients. It's just not necessary. Spend more time being a horse with blinders on. Think about your studio, think about your situation, go out there and sell your clients. I can't tell you how many, because we also have podcasts, how many times they have reached out to our podcast accounts being like, hey, I have a new studio and you should record. And I was like, well, I have my own, but thank you. Like, try and do a little bit of research and insight if you plan to do any sort of guerrilla type marketing to get at people. But like, honestly, just, that's my biggest pet peeve is trying to go after someone else's clients when there's literally billions of people in the world who should and can do podcasts. Like, it's not necessary.
It's a big one, yeah. I hate micro-influencers.
That's on camera. Thanks for that.
What? I hate them. Well, somebody with 10,000 less followers thinks they are like the biggest shit in the world. They ask for things for free and like.
Literally, A-list celebrities are so nice, and it's always the one with 15,000 followers that is like, what do you mean I'm charging
I'll shout you out on Instagram. Can I get a free session? It's like, okay, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
So,
Yeah.
Quick, I think it's worth it. 30-second solution, or what we figured. So a number of them obviously approached us, and I told them, look, it's very easy to quantify what we give you. It's very difficult to track how much did we get back. So now we issue them basically a credit note on 10,000 dirhams, let's say, this is your credit, and then we track the deals that they brought to the studio that we offset against the credit that we gave them.
Yeah.
On the expiry of 6 months, we charge them the remaining amount. In most cases, it's the total amount because usually they don't get a deal.
Every time.
So I think that's an easy way to fire back, and then the ball is in their court. They need to tell you like, because they really put you in a weird situation where they start begging for that. Like,
yeah, that's what we usually push back and say, well, I'll give you a coupon code, and anytime somebody redeems it, we'll give you a credit to have a free recording or whatever. And it's never happened.
I do have one more thing that's a little bit more about the podcast use specifically, which is we were very recently getting frustrated with the quality of the material that was being published from our studios because we know that the audio is good and the video is good, but who in the world was editing it the way it was? And it was starting to put a bad taste in our mouths to what our studios looked like because we know we could have done that much better. And so part of whether this is a smart business move or not, still in question, but like we have changed the way that our team is doing post-production, and now we're pretty much inserting our processed audio into the video and sending them the video with the processed audio. I'm so sick of listening to things that have come from our studio where they're just using the line audio from the camera. I'm like, no, we can't do that. And we can't share it. We don't want to share it if it looks weird, if it sounds weird, because we just know that maybe they're not so editing technical savvy or they just didn't have the time.
do you do that only for network clients or for everyone?
For everyone.
How long does it take you to process the audio?
It has now put an extra half hour of work onto every show. Luckily, again, we're less quantity,
Yeah.
but still, yeah, it has added work time to our staff members.
Okay.
So there's nothing good about the industry, only bad editors and
Oh, that was just what,
poachers
20
and-
minutes bad? Yeah, no, there's so many good things. This is one of them. Like this year, being able to be a part of your guys' monthly calls and
Yep.
speak to and hear people's stories from across the world has been so validating. It has been so secluded and such a behind closed doors and very competitive, especially here in New York. And it's helped change my mindset about the podcast studio a good deal. Because prior to this, it was very secretive. I didn't want nobody to have our secret sauce. I get mad when I saw they just clearly ripped off our pricing and they put no thought into it of their own. And now I do view it differently. I still know that at the end of the day, Matt and I are who we are, and that's the reason why Gotham is what it is. And so I don't worry so much. I used to have a lot of that anxiety in the beginning, and now I just want to be more collaborative. And being a part of your guys' community has been so amazing to hear people from London and Spain and Singapore and everywhere talk about their experiences.
Share same pains.
Yeah, or be of
It was
resource at any point in their journey is really cool. Yeah.
I had one moment that was kind of like an out of body great moment in podcasting that really was like, oh my God, we're part of this. We're doing this. We were into the Haim concert at Madison Square Garden, and in one of like the boxes, I'm like far away from the box, but I can see into the boxes, and they have like the screens and stuff. And one of them, they're playing a podcast that we recorded. I was like, what? That's so weird. Like at Madison Square Garden, they're watching a podcast that was in our studio and we worked on. It was just a weird situation. I took a picture and sent it to one of the producers, and he was like, I'm here too. Where are you? It was a weird night to like, I'm part of something that like, we worked on something that is now in Madison Square Garden in some small way. But it was really like an out-of-body experience.
We
like,
are doing so much more than just recording those videos. And Ray and I had a nice conversation yesterday about it. We're just documenting so much knowledge and experiences. And when you look at it like that, then you open up yourself to a completely new world of thinking about this industry. We went to overtime. If we continue like this, we're staying here until tomorrow. So. Tom, you wanted to ask another question, and then we can wrap the session and move on.
Briefly, and I think it actually ties into what you're kind of saying at the end there, where if you leave post-production to other people, it can sometimes get botched. But it sounds like with the network play that you guys didn't force those creators to use your editing process. What was the decision behind that?
So for the network, we give them a multi-blend cut of the 3 cameras, and so we kind of set them up for success. But just the sheer amount of man hours it takes for editing, we don't have that capability for mass amounts of shows that we want to have on the network one day. We don't want to set up a precedence that we're going to be able to edit every single person's show for them, and then all of a sudden 20, 25, maybe 30 shows in the future, I'm not having a good day. So I just, we were like, how do we set this up so that it can scale? And the only way that it really made sense was to use and we've integrated AI functions into our business so that way things can be streamlined and everybody's aware. I think that's a huge conversation piece that clients aren't necessarily opposed to AI, but you need to be communicative with them to let them know that you're inserting it into the post-production process. And so they're okay with it. We say you're okay with it. We go forward, and then we kind of give them that multicam blend with the good audio processed in. If they want to do anything more with it, they're more than happy to. But hopefully, they're walking out with a ready-to-post file, and we don't have to do editing for them. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Okay, one
The
more.
last one, and then we're gotta go.
I'll be very quick. So just to follow up on what you're saying about the editing there. So on a previous call, what you said is you believe that if possible, we should try to own our entire value chain ourselves, right? So if we could, the idea would be to do everything in-house, right?
Yeah.
But what you just said here is that you don't do everything in-house.
For network clients, yes.
Okay, so the editing, you don't do it. I assume you're doing a lot of stuff up front in the pre-production, the adding, the scripting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you said, in this industry, there's a kind of an issue where you've got agencies who don't have studios and studios who don't have production lines.
Yeah.
So what's the issue? Like, why don't you guys just do it?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just have that entire production line? I assume that if you wanted to, you kind of could.
Yeah.
So do you think you could just expand on that a little bit? Because
Of
that's
course.
what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to look into it.
Yeah, so we do. So we have hourly clients that come in, use our studios. We have no clue what they do after that. We say goodbye, they do their thing. We have production clients where we're scripting, we're doing everything for them. We really have our hands in every single part of what they're doing. And we are responsible for editing, posting, strategy, and they're paying us for that. Then we have our network clients who don't pay us. They're a part of our network. We have ownership IP. We don't have ownership IP of the production shows. That's strictly a pay for play service. So we have just over time stepped into these different roles and we service different types of clients. And it's helped us because when someone walks in and they say, oh, you want ownership of my show? I don't want you to have ownership. It's like, great, you might be better for production. And I can still sell them and I can still have them as a client, but they're not going to be good for this bucket. They might be good for a different one. And sometimes I just go, all right, maybe the studio is the best option then for you. You have a place to come land and you're going to get great audio and video. And we have had to walk away from some amazing potential shows, knowing that that's fine. We have to be okay with that because they're not going to give us what we need inside of this specific space. And I think it's great. It opens you up to so many different types of clients too. Corporate, individual, influencers, comedians, like they're all in different industries and aspects and ranges in their brand and their career. So having this open sort of business model that we can fit them into these different categories has really worked well for us.
Okay.
All right. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, my foot's asleep.